Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Hello, I'm Kesenya and welcome to the last week of the old year. Hallelujah. For some who are watching this, it will be Christmas Day and happy Christmas to us all. I want to empower you this week through the tool of astrology as we look at the final week of 2021. Now, keep in mind as I do this that this is a personal reading. I'm not doing mundane astrology, which is world events and affairs. The influences that have affected the mundane astrological world this year have included big collective experiences such as Pluto moving through the final degrees of Capricorn, Saturn-Uranus square, Eris-Pluto square, and we've got also the nodes in their final last hurrah in Sagittarius and Gemini. So we are also in a very interesting period at the moment under this new or entering into a new cycle of Venus. Now we have been in this particular cycle of Venus for 18 months and that's coming to an end now. It will actually officially conclude in early January, but we are winding things up as Venus goes retrograde and prepares to meet with the Sun and transform from the evening star to the morning star. And I spoke about this in my video last week and what it means for us personally. If you haven't seen that, do check that out. But I get so excited by this because this is obviously part of the big collective experience we've been all having. It ties into the themes that have been unfolding during the last 18 months or so with COVID, etc. So I am really excited to see the end of this cycle and the beginning of a new Venus cycle that's going to last 18 months. Bring it on. It can only be better than what we've had. So very ready for that to play into things as well. Now, in this video that I shared last week, it's on my playlist if you want to check it out, about Venus retrograde and what we're going to experience for the month of January with Venus in its retrograde motion. I think I scared some people and I didn't mean to do that. That's never my intent when I talked about what it means to have Venus retrograde in a natal chart. And I mentioned that the effects of Venus retrograde in a natal chart will disperse when Venus turns direct in your progressed chart at a certain point in life. And that indicates when the karma is done and finished and you are renewed and refreshed and you go forward with Venus energy in your life. And it is quite beautiful. So there's nothing to fear with that. But I did want to give some people who are a bit concerned and who like remedies some what we call remedies. Now, whether these work or not, I have not observed to be the case, but they are the common remedies that in Vedic astrology tend to be given for dealing with Venus energy. And if it makes you feel more empowered to utilize these ideas, then by all means, go ahead and do so. So some of the things include wearing rose quartz or wearing diamonds, because these are Venus energies and you're going to amplify Venus energies if you're wearing those particular stones. Having anything to do with touch regularly in your life, like a massage or a Reiki session, maybe getting involved in gardening. Various artistic therapies can help ease Venus retrograde influences in our personal life. Art, music, dance. Doing something Venusian every Friday is also considered to be a good remedy as well, because Venus rules the day of Friday. Friday is Venus Day. And so indulge yourself, treat yourself, have a bit of luxury. Friday's the day for getting that takeaway dinner or that block of chocolate while you watch a movie, a good romantic movie with Venus energy. Just do something kind and generous for yourself. Not over the top, of course, but something every Friday to sort of give you a bit of indulgence, give you a bit of Venus energy, and that works well and is helpful for remedying Venus according to these ancient Vedic principles. Another thing that we can always do to help remedy any of our difficult planets in the chart is to do service, to help And in the case of Venus, to do service for young women, to help young women, maybe mentor young women or back young women or be a benefactor to young women could also be a way to mitigate Venus difficulties. So that little tidbit is for anyone who was a bit concerned about some of the ideas presented in the Venus video last week. Now, what I'm going to be speaking about today is more about what's going to affect you in the week ahead, how you will feel, and what you might encounter on a personal level. Now, the best days this week, and remember, I'm in Australia, I'm using Australian times. If you're in the US, most of the time you can interpret this as being roughly a day behind what I say, because especially if you're on the west coast then of the US, then roughly you're a day behind Australia in terms of dates, but not energy. Okay, the energy is the same, it's just the date that it occurs that will be different. So be conscious of the void of course moon and avoid instigating anything under its energy, because when we take action during a void of course moon, then we tend to see nothing result from our endeavors. Sometimes that can be good if we don't want anything drastic to occur and we just want things to stay neutral, then maybe it's a good time to use the void of course moon. But sometimes we want to, we want something to pay off for us, or we want to get a result, and then it's best to choose to take action when the moon is not void of course. You can use an app like iLuna to help you determine if a void of course moon is present when you're about to instigate something. Now, the 25th and the 26th, so the day that this video airs and the following day, which will be Boxing Day, these are good days to reinvent yourself. Good days this week to turn over a new leaf, to take some action to dissolve any unwanted habits or life circumstances that are holding you back and limiting you. You might not be paying attention too much to those sorts of things as you eat your Christmas pavlova with the family, but that is the energy of benefit that's available to us on the 25th and the 26th. On the 27th, 28th and 29th of December, these are great days to optimistically look to the future and make plans, make goals. So maybe you could start preparing your New Year's resolutions under that energy. Take time to plan for the future, think big picture, not small details. And for some people, these days could be quite blessed and quite lucky, depending on what's going on in your natal horoscope and how things are interacting there with the current planets. But these are auspicious days. In fact, nearly every day this week is auspicious energy. Fantastic way to end the old year. 30th of December is also a really good energy, but this is a great day for being playful, for having fun, for learning new things and new skills, and maybe to consider some business deals and promotions even for people whose charts are looking good towards that end. So very positive in that sense. We also have Mercury, who is continuing to be out of bounds throughout the 25th of December to the 29th of December. Mercury's been out of bounds, which means beyond declination of the sun's boundary for quite some time. And so this is an energy that brings us genius level ideas in the good manner, in the light side of the yin yang of Mercury energies. We can have genius level ideas and insights and aha light bulb moments. But we can also have in the shadow side erratic thoughts and a bit of nervous tension. And if you're experiencing nervous tension, something you can utilize to sort of help and mitigate that energy, because nervous tension is often a result of certain energies that are out there, you can have some magnesium or take some magnesium pills, which is very helpful for that. I actually have a pinch of magnesium every time I have a glass of water, just in my glass of water. So it keeps the nervous tension at bay and keeps our genius level ideas flowing, let's say, without all the negative stuff. So Mercury out of bounds for the majority of this week. Now, this week's energy focuses that we are looking at, we've got a couple of things occurring that I want to mention. And the first one, which I can't wait to tell you about, you probably already know what it is because it's the biggie for this week. I will point out that I'm not going to be talking specifically about this energy for all signs, because I've got 12 videos all about this event happening for 12 signs, and I'm talking about Jupiter moving into Pisces. Hallelujah! It's finally time. So here is Jupiter moving into the sign of Pisces. Hooray! I am so happy to see this. Everybody knows Pisces is my rising sign, but Jupiter is in his own territory at long last. You know, he's spent 2 years here in the territory of Saturn. Not nice. Jupiter's not comfortable in the houses of the great malefic Saturn, and he is the great benefic, wanting to bless and bestow goodness upon humanity. So that's been restricted, that's been blocked. No more. No more. Hallelujah. For the next 6 months, or until May the 16th, he's going to be in his own powerhouse of Pisces. So he is going to be expanded. The energy of Jupiter will be expanded and empowered and will return to full strength during this time. And we can all, for that matter, breathe a collective sigh of relief. The angels of the King of the Gods can come to our aid now. Pisces is this highly spiritual, otherworldly energy where the divine beings, the divine energies that watch over us are kind of pulling the strings. And here comes the King of the Gods, Jupiter, into the sign of the angels and the higher beings. And they're going to be empowered to orchestrate things in the heavenly realms now, with Jupiter's benevolent energy being in their territory. So we can expect to see a lot of spirituality increasing, compassion increasing when Jupiter moves through Pisces. He's going to help us know, at a very personal level, true universal love under this influence. I'm very pleased to say, and couldn't the world use a bit of that right now? For sure. So our belief, because Jupiter is beliefs in the realm of higher spiritual powers, our belief in the support of higher powers is enhanced while he's here. And we begin to see all around us unfolding more luck, more hope, more optimism returning to our lives. Yay! So there's an increasing good fortune that can actually arrive for some people too, depending on what house the sign of Pisces falls in your chart, and that'll determine where this good fortune comes from and how it's going to express with you. Again, check out my Jupiter Through the Signs playlist to find out where it's falling for you and how it's going to affect you. Very powerful. So Jupiter is the planet of good karma, and he now helps us to not necessarily manifest good karma, although that will be the case for some people, but we are going to create more good karma for ourselves under Jupiter's influence. We're going to be more charitable, more tender, more devoted, more compassionate, more giving. We're going to look out for those less fortunate now. And these things can generate good karma for us down the track. Thumbs up. Idealism also abounds while Jupiter is running through his own territory. And this is alongside our faith with it, which is enhanced. So you can see it's going to give us blessings that we've really, as a human collective, been in need of. I can't wait for this. So it's a time of positivity when we seek expansion of the soul over drama, over darkness and hopelessness, and peace over tyranny. So thank God for Jupiter moving into Pisces. It is time to thank our lucky stars. Lucky star in this case. Bring it on, Jupiter in Pisces. Hurrah! Okay, the other energies this week, as you can tell, I'm super excited about this. Been waiting for it all year. Well, since Jupiter went back into Aquarius in the middle of the year, I've been waiting for him to go back into Pisces. So on December the 29th, which is the day Jupiter goes into Pisces, we're also going to have a Mercury conjunction with Venus, who is retrograde. So here they are down here in Capricorn, and we're going to come together with a Mercury-Venus conjunction. So ordinarily, this combination would be the time to tell people how much we love them, to use our words to do Venusian things. Words is Mercury, Venus is love, romance, relationships, care, kindness, all those nice things. But should we do that under Venus retrograde? I don't know. It depends on your personal circumstances, of course. If you're in a loving relationship, then let it all out. Go for your life. But if you're thinking of approaching that girl at work, or that guy you've been chatting with on some dating app or something like that, and asking them for a date and saying, I really like you or whatever, maybe it's not the time, because Venus is retrograde. And if you watched my video last week, you'll understand that Venus retrograde can be a bit of a hairy time for most people. What we can instead do is write out our feelings, because Venus retrograde is to introspect the things of Venus, to think about relationships, to refine, especially with the Pluto-Venus conjunction that's unfolding at the moment as well throughout this retrograde period. When Venus retrogrades, she doesn't always retrograde in the same house as Pluto. So this is a special combination that's playing out with this retrograde that's going to cause us to bring up any old muck, anything that we're hiding about relationships, anything that we are not happy with in relationships is going to be brought to the surface now for us to deal with, to face, and to make the necessary changes, or to say thanks very much but no thanks. So it's quite a powerful thing that we are having this retrograde while Venus is in the house that Pluto is also transiting. But when Mercury is involved, as will be the case on the 29th of December, we need to deal with this muck that's coming up in some way, to process it somehow in our hearts and our minds. So it's a good idea to write our feelings down, maybe in a journal, or maybe we write a letter or an email or something. That could be sharing your romantic sentiments with, somebody. You might write a poem for somebody that you love, or do something, write something of a romantic nature, but sit tight on that message until that message of endearment, until Venus moves direct at the end of January. So if you're feeling inclined to write something, do it, but then sit on it and wait for Venus to move direct. This is, like I said, the time of introspection for love and romance, and it's going to give this period of Venus retrograde your feelings a chance to solidify, and for you to be sure of what you're feeling and what's going on. Possibly for some people, by the time Venus turns direct on January the 29th, if the relationship wasn't meant to be, the feelings will disappear and you'll be glad that you haven't sent that note of endearment or that letter or whatever. So then, your words of love, if you do still have the feelings and you send that poem or whatever, the words of love will generate a response that will be more likely to last and be true after the 29th of January. So lovely to work with the energies in this way. Hope that helps you understand, how you can navigate this period. Now, the key energy that I want to explore this week is happening on the 30th of December. I keep picking up my pen, but I don't need to, because we've got a conjunction of Mercury and Pluto happening on the 30th of December, and this is the energy that I want to focus on. So we need to watch old mental pathways now, because they're going to transform under the influence of an annual conjunction of Mercury and Pluto. What's going to happen is we're going to be deconstructing the thought patterns that are keeping us from our true inner power. And because Venus is involved too at this time, it's a deconstruction of thought patterns to do with our relationship with money and our relationship with love and self-worth. So this transit is not for the intellectually shallow, for people who can only talk about the Kardashians. This is for people who want to dig up the deep, dark depths of themselves and purify it. Very powerful. So deep psychological uncovering is favored at this time. And so you might like to support that by, again, doing some journaling, doing some introspective work, meditating, those sorts of things. But it can also bring significant changes to friendships. Mercury is friendships. Pluto is to refine and reconstruct something, regenerate something. And maybe a friendship, maybe a lover from the past or something, or an old relationship that needs to be renovated, perhaps. Impatience with superficial communications is also likely to happen. You're with your partner, and once again, all they can talk about is that Kardashian episode, and you're like, enough already. So superficial, no depth. It could be very frustrating for a lot of people in those circumstances under this energy. There could be some verbal power struggles that occur with this conjunction as well. Not necessarily arguments. We're not seeing Mars involved in this, and Venus is sweet words when Venus is involved. But behind those sweet words, maybe there's a bit of manipulation, fears, paranoias, and power struggle that are motivating what is being said. This is an annual combination though, so it's not an unusual one. We are familiar with this. It's not like Jupiter moving into Pisces, which only occurs once every 12 years. but it's still an important annual conjunction to note. So I would encourage you to get your headspace ready for this by reading some psychological books, maybe doing a bit of therapy, like I've said, writing your thoughts out in a journal, or dissecting your emotions when you have a coffee with some friends and really go deep, not shallow. Take some mental time out to ponder and reflect. They're the key hallmarks of being able to navigate these last couple of days of 2021 well. Let's break it down for all signs now, and we're going to start with where all this action is taking place. We're going to start with Capricorn as our first house. Here we are. Venus, Pluto, Mercury conjunction in Capricorn. So this could see for Capricornian people, your thinking really speed up now. It's not that Pluto is a fast energy. Mercury is, but Pluto, it gives power to whatever it touches. So it's giving power to already speedy Gonzalez Mercury. And so our thinking, especially in the first house of you and who you are and how you present to the world, your thinking and your talking can get really, really, really fast now. In fact, your mind can be faster than your mouth when Mercury is moving through the first house. So try to slow down and think things through before you speak, Capricorn. You might need to make some fast decisions under this influence, and so it's a good energy to support you in doing that. And you might even need to take some quick actions over certain circumstances that arise for you at the last couple of days of the old year. So just try to remember to check the fine detail if you do need to make a quick decision about something. Make sure you pay attention. So you're going to want to keep things short now and to the point. There's a busyness about your life that's going to keep you on your toes under this energy. And you might even receive some exciting news, Capricorn. Some fresh insights. I'm not talking necessarily gossip, although with Mercury that can be the case. But because Pluto's involved, it's not news that's sort of gossipy. It's much more news that has a deep uncovering effect and revealing effect. So serious news, transformative news that can come into your life that might happen now. And you're going to want to keep the details of any plans that you're making as simple as possible, because Pluto can intensify, and it can be a bit overwhelming when Pluto's intensifying our planning. If you keep things simple and low fuss, you'll do so much better under this energy. Also, try not to get defensive about your opinions under this influence too. Take the high ground, use your words to debate people with intellectual argument tinged with the grace of Venus. Don't get in there like you're a battering ram with your words. Use your intellect, which is Mercury, and use gracefulness in your speech rather than defensiveness. You might be able to rally people to a special cause through your infectious excitement under this energy too over those couple of days, particularly the 30th of December. Although there might be some impatience that you'll experience with other people who are taking too long to reach their point. And you can be like, come on, hurry up, twiddle my thumbs, just get to the point, or let me finish it for you. So that's what to watch out for if you are a Capricorn person and experiencing Mercury conjunction like this in your first house this week. Next, we are having an Aquarius energy playing out, and we've got Aquarius falling as the first house, which means that Mercury is in Capricorn, the 12th house, a dreamy house, an imaginative house. But you might have trouble with the details on this day, the 30th, Aquarius. Information can come to you through otherworldly realms. So, you might be having trouble with the details, but you might get a goosebump moment, an aha moment, an epiphany that occurs for you. There might be some channeling of otherworld information that comes through. You might get that download that gives you direction in life or meaning in life. You might not realize this until Mercury moves out of the 12th house, because there can be some lack of clarity while Mercury is moving through the 12th house. Things are a little bit foggier when Mercury is in the 12th house, even in a sign like Capricorn. There might be some trouble also with everyday activities, because this is the house opposite the realm of the everyday activities, which is the 6th house. And Mercury has natural affiliation with 6th house everyday routine energies. So here in the 12th house, there might be some trouble there. We might be thinking a bit too unusually, a bit too abstract, and a bit distracted to focus on the details of the ordinary mundane, everyday stuff in life. But it is a placement to experience a lot of creativity, a lot of inspiration. So, pay attention to when those creative juices get flowing. There could be frustration, like I said, with the mundane and ordinary, but, if you channel things into sort of a fantasy realm or some sort of creativity, you can really mitigate that. There could be a lot of lacking of thoroughness with the details of life now, but I would encourage you to trust your instincts just the same, because this is a highly intuitive placement. You could be visionary, you could be, get an inspiration that's going to serve you for quite a while into the future, actually. So it's a great transit for anybody who works in fields like marketing or advertising or music or film, any creative careers, because inspiration lands on your doorstep. So it's a good time. You could even get really chatty, Mercury is to chat about spirituality, 12th house, in a very deep way. So you might be just having a regular cup of coffee with a friend at the local coffee house, and you find yourself going into this really deep and meaningful conversation over a very social cup of coffee. So you could also, through those sorts of things, get some very big psychic downloads and insights at that time as well. And your dreams are likely to be very prophetic too, especially in the conjunction with Pluto here. So pay attention to your dreams, write them down, note them. Also, omens and signs. Do pay attention, like any unusual animals that interact with you, or freak occurrences that are a bit out of the box. Pay attention. This can often be the divine, 12th house, trying to speak to you, Mercury, to be spoken to receive messages and give messages. And Pluto is these psychic kind of influences. So keep your eyes out for that, Aquarius. You are more prone than most other signs to be having those sorts of experiences on the 30th of December. Moving right along to Pisces, who've got all the action moving into their territory. Yay. We are seeing that the energy of Mercury conjunct with Venus and Pluto is happening in your 11th house, Pisces. So here we are up in Capricorn, your 11th house. And the 11th house is a strong position for Mercury to be in. So you'll be thinking about life during this period in a very rational and analytical way. Now, I actually noticed this myself as soon as Mercury moved into the sign of Capricorn. I became like a bit more that way inclined. But it's going to be amplified because Pluto empowers whatever it touches. So your intellectual approach can be quite impartial now, maybe a little bit detached as well, more so than usual. I mean, Pisces is a very feeling sign, a feeling energy, an emotive energy, but just the same, this energy can still see Pisces people getting a bit more analytical than they usually would be. Doesn't mean that they're going to be off the charts analytical and detached, but just more so than usual. So there's this detachment emotionally now that can come to mind a lot more, and a great transit actually, this one, for making new friends. You can make friends, Mercury's friendship, with very deep people, intense people, maybe very scorpionic kinds of people for those who are aware of Scorpio energies. So that can happen under this influence. There can be an effect on, if you've got any public speaking that you need to do, it can be very empowering because your words, Mercury, can have a great effect on the masses, the power to persuade, the power to impact, the power to manipulate and motivate other people. So there's great power here, and my son's been watching the latest Spider-Man film, with great power comes great responsibility, where that quote comes from. So use your words wisely amongst friends, and if you've got any public speaking engagements, or even if you speak as I do on, say, a YouTube channel or something, remember that your words are going to have great power under this influence. You might even be able to rally people to a cause with the sweetness of your words. Venus is giving sweetness to your persuasive words. Persuasive Pluto, and words Mercury. Bang. To the masses, to the groups, to the friends. of the 11th house. It's also a time when you might actually garner a unique perspective on some sort of topic that might affect the masses as well. So keep an open mind and open heart, Pisces, because there might be some change. I mean, you're a mutable energy, but you do have a cardinal sign in your 11th house, which means that there's, for you Pisces rising people, perhaps not so much the Pisces sun or moon people, but the Pisces rising people, then you will see some newness, some freshness, some new beginnings throughout the course of your life with regard to perspectives that affect the big picture of humanity and humanitarian causes. So change regarding your perspectives on those sorts of things are common in the life of a Pisces person, but they may be triggered now, big changes. So keep an open mind. And you might also notice perhaps some goosebump moments that increase for you. So pay attention to any flashes of insight. A lot of Pisces people are used to this sort of thing, those goosebump moments and flashes of insight. But they will amplify because of the Pluto-Mercury combination here. Your thinking might be drawn to topics that have to do with the progress of humankind and the justice for humanity now. Some of you might even be considering taking some sort of collective legal action under this influence, because Venus has connections to Libra, the scales. She rules Libra, and that's the balance, the harmony, the justice. And so the legal system is often symbolically represented by the scales as well. And so here Venus's involvement might be getting you thinking about some collective action, or looking for an opportunity to join with others to take collective action, legal action, as a mass group during this time. So that's what I'm seeing for the sign of Pisces during this period. Now I'm moving on to Aries. Aries rising, sun or moon people. We are seeing the energy fall up here in the 10th house. And this conjunction of Pluto-Mercury is very influential in an angular house like the 10th house. Your thinking processes can be very no nonsense, because here we are in the no-nonsense sign of Capricorn, in a no-nonsense house of the 10th house. So you can use your mind to be very constructive, to build some helpful new structures in your life, especially if you are somebody who works in careers to do with management, administration, or bureaucracy. So it's a good time for putting some new systems in place in your work life, or if you're in a management position, maybe some new systems in place with your employees. So if you're a boss. So this is a very empowered energy because of the conjunction with Pluto to be effectual in that manner. So watch out though, because Pluto is a planet of great power, and we can find in this area of leadership, when Pluto is activating, say, Mercury in the house of leadership, that we can sometimes come across a bit patronizingly, a bit domineering, a bit I'm a cut above. So you want to be conscious of having this I'm superior energy that could be activated under this conjunction of Pluto and Mercury in the 10th house. There also could be an activation of criticism or judgmentalism as well. So that might be that's actually more the shadow side of this placement, and you might be being critical or judgmental to other people, but also to yourself as well, especially as Venus represents the self, represents self-worth here in the 10th house. So that judginess and that superiority, criticism to other people and also to the self. Be aware of that tendency and tread with kindness in how you communicate to people who are beneath you, let's say. And I use the term beneath you in inverted commas because no one, of course, is beneath us. We're all equal. But some people have employment status that puts other people at a more lower position. So be kind if you're in that circumstance, and try not to be domineering or bossy boots. Okay, thank you, Aries. Now we're moving to Taurus rising sun or moon people. And this energy for Taurus people is falling in the 9th house, the luckiest, most benevolent house in the horoscope. And the reason being is that it aspects the rising sign with a trine. So your thinking goes into ninth house areas under this influence. And what does that even mean? Well, it means you'll be thinking about uplifting, inspirational, and benevolent topics now. How to be a benefactor might be where your thoughts are going. How to be a philanthropist. You might be looking for, well, where's the silver lining in this particular circumstance? You might be looking for, well, what's inspiring me at this moment? You could just be sitting out on the back lawn reading a book, and you look up into the blue sky, and all of a sudden, expansion of the soul, because your mind is drawn to higher realms just by looking at the gloriousness of the blue sky, and so we're going to tend to focus our thoughts in these higher minded ways under this influence. This is a time, Taurus, when you can really help humanity this month with perhaps some globalist thinking, big picture focus, and not to mention a sort of a progressive view of life. Because this is not like an Aquarian energy, which is progressive, but it is forward-looking, the ninth house. Because if you think about it, the ninth house is very connected to Sagittarius, very connected to the centaur. And what does the centaur do? He's there with his arrow, ready to fire, looking to the future. Where is this arrow going? It's very forward-looking, the ninth house. So you might be looking forward to, well, how can I make change that is progressive and going to be good for the whole of humanity, that globalist thinking, other cultures thinking. How can we make change for the better? Truth-seeking is also on the cards during this time, and you'll want the big answers, to what is going on in the world. So you could get some psychic intuition that it leads you to the truth now. You could even have a circumstance where you go hunting on YouTube for a video about what's the answer to this particular circumstance, and you find it. You find a video or an article or something online that gives you a truthful answer that empowers you, because Pluto in a conjunction with Mercury in the ninth house, truth is a ninth house thing. Mercury is to find answers, and Pluto empowers this energy. So a lot of people might find that they find big answers coming their way during this time. Trust your hunches as well. Trust your intuition. There's a bit of spirituality going on in the ninth house here, and Pluto is this psychic sense, this deep inner knowing that's sort of in your bones. So trust your hunches, trust your insight. This might be also a good time to dive into a few different philosophies and a few different belief systems and try to wrap your head around them. Try to wrap your head around activities and foreign affairs now too, if you can get information from reputable sources about what's going on in other countries. It's a good time to sort of direct your thinking to those areas of life, and because of the empowerment of Pluto here, you might actually be able to nut out some worthwhile solutions to certain circumstances that are unfolding in other countries. And if anyone's got a solution to what's going on in Australia, please contact me. So that's what I'm seeing for our precious Taurus friends. Now, if you are a Gemini rising, Gemini rising, sun or moon person, we are seeing the energy of the conjunction of Pluto and Mercury and also Venus falling in your 8th house, Gemini. So thinking can go very deep for you right now, very intense. And Gemini, unless you've got a lot of planets already in the 8th house or in Scorpio, Geminis are bright and breezy. And they're interested in what's the latest news and what's going on the surface of things. They want to know a lot about many things. They don't tend to, Gemini energy is not one that tends to go like super, super deep into the basement, go, heavy and melancholy and deeply philosophical. That's not Gemini's usual energy unless you've got planets that change that dynamic in your chart. But you're going to be drawn to being intense now. You're going to be drawn to being deep. Distaste for small talk, distaste for superficiality. Mercury with Pluto in the 8th house. Oh, heavy duty. So get ready, Gemini. It'll be a very different feeling for you. You might be focused on psychological analysis now of yourself and the other people in your life. So, you could be trying to nut people out and try to understand their agendas, to see behind the veils that they put up. And, you could very focused on that. There's Also, potentially a lot of passion in your communication and your thinking that can come through under this energy. You can communicate with greater fervor, greater enthusiasm now about topics that are dear to your heart. And look, Gemini does get very enthusiastic by nature, but Pluto conjunct with Mercury is going to empower the qualities of Mercury. Mercury is your ruling planet as well. So, boom, much more empowered fervor and enthusiasm in the house of passion. So your words can also have a lot of power now in the 8th house, amplified by Pluto. Use them like a superhero for good. You know, there can be a tendency in this placement to manipulate others during this transit and to, you know, provoke others or cause jealousies or, be a bit obsessive with your words. And you don't want to go in that shadow side if you can help it. Use your power for good. I mean, you have powerful words that can change the lives of other people during this particular period. So change it with kindness, change it with love, change it with words that uplift and bless. So you can expect, Gemini, that there might be some quite intense conclusions that you reach, some answers that you reach under this energy, maybe about the darker undercurrents of humanity during this time. This is a time when you can jump on the YouTube and find all sorts of documentaries that open your eyes, let's say, to what's really happening behind the scenes. Because 8th house is the very secretive energy and what is being hidden. So here Pluto can actually reveal what's being hidden. Pluto goes down into the basement and brings it all out into the light and says, what are you going to do with this crap? And it's up to us to deal with it. So you might find answers online. Mercury is to be, sharing information, maybe through an online platform, that are revealing to you of what's hidden, what's going on behind closed doors, what's really happening. You might even find yourself maybe thinking more often about morbid or taboo topics under this energy. People might divulge their secrets to you now. This is one of the houses, there's 2 of them, but one of the houses of secrets. And some Gemini people can actually morph into like a Sherlock Holmes on the trail of the truth, string lines everywhere, trying to figure it out. You're likely to be drawn to mysteries and to hidden ideas, to concepts, to ideologies that aren't out there in the main. You can also see right through people now, Gemini. You'll be wanting to understand what's the motivation here, and you'll be able to do so for this period when Mercury and Pluto are conjunct in the 8th house. You'll be able to understand their motivations. You'll be able to understand their hidden truths. Watch out for being a little obsessive in your mind right now. Pace yourself, Gemini. And, in some cases, a Gemini person, maybe like yourself, might be the provocateur of transformation in others through the use of your words. So, you can say something and it absolutely changes somebody's life, turned around 180 degrees because you said something. Now, I don't have this placement and I don't know where the planets were years ago when I suggested to a friend who was wondering what he should do with his life. I said, have you thought about Bible college? I mean, this was way back in my teens. And that person went to Bible college, because I'd suggested it, met his wife, has now had, 3 children? And, his whole life has taken a whole different trajectory just because he happened to listen to what Kesenya said back in our teens. So this is a transit where that kind of effect can play out. You could just say something, even offhandedly, Gemini, to somebody else, and it just changes the course of somebody's life, because that's what the 8th house can do. Powerful time. All right, Cancer rising. Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people. We are seeing the energy, and if you can imagine the horizon line running through here, the energy is falling in your 7th house. This is a Pluto-Mercury conjunction with a bit of Venus in the 7th house. So you might find that during this month, you absolutely need to communicate your ideas and your thoughts to other people in order to avoid feeling stuck, feeling bogged down. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to feel intense. Pluto is going to intensify the communications that you have with your partner, Cancer people. But if you're not sharing, talking, and speaking about what's on your heart, then, something's wrong. I'm spinning my wheels. That said, you can also uplift other people. This is the house of other people, and your words, when Mercury's in a conjunction with Pluto, your sweet words, Venus there too, can uplift others. Not just your spouse, not just your business partner, but others. This is the house of others, your other audience, your clients, other people who are not you. So your words have power now to bless and uplift other people. And your communication should be, I feel, quite diplomatic during this time, even with the conjunction with Pluto, even in Capricorn. This is a diplomatic house, and so the way you speak will be wanting to create diplomacy and balance and harmony. That said, Pluto is involved here, and so there might be a bit of a desire to play the devil's advocate in order to balance a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bit of an argy-bargy happening at, the New Year's lunch table or something like that, and you throw in a devil's advocate verbal bomb, and it just balances things out so that things aren't so one-sided one way or another. Okay, that can happen too. But the point here is to make both other people and yourself think objectively about whatever is being discussed, and to be objective. Capricorn's very objective kind of energy. And most blessedly with this combination, it's a time when you can perceive problems from a variety of different angles. You'll enjoy the stimulation of fair and just debate, of listening to other opinions and getting perspective of other people in your life. A time for being more rational and more reasonable in your thought processes. You won't be in a hurry with your thinking under this energy. Mercury is a speedy kind of energy, but here in the 7th house, it's not necessarily about, running really fast, and Capricorn's about the marathon, so rather than the sprint. So, your thought processes, as opposed to some other people who've got this in different houses where it's all about fast and quick, this is much more of a deliberate energy, a serious energy. And so it's time now, under this influence, to bring balance and harmony to relationships with your words too. So you can, for a lot of Cancer people, they're going to transform their relationships through discussions, through sharing, through information. You might find that there is some big change that unfolds in any kind of, it could be a business partnership, it could be a marriage. You might have a conversation where things are completely transformed because of what you talk about. Pluto, Venus, Mercury. Venus is love in the house of marriage, and both of these planets do have connections to trade and business as well, so it could be a business partner. And Pluto is to rejuvenate something, to renovate something, or to completely break something down and destroy it so that something new can be rebuilt. So big, interesting conversations with other people await you during the New Year process, Cancer. All right, Leo, lovely Leo people, thank you so much, Leo, for sticking with us here as we go through this process. Here we have the energy of 4 planets falling in your 6th house, and particularly we're looking at the conjunction of Mercury and Venus falling in Capricorn with Pluto. So guess what? You can have high levels of success, believe it or not, with this energy in the 6th house in your everyday routine. So I'm not, Leo, don't think that this is the big successful moment you've been waiting for as you're strutting the boards on Broadway. No, it's more in your everyday life where you can be very successful now with this energy. A time when your communication is very articulate and empowered and precise, because that's the 6th house energy, to be precise, to be a master of something, but in the mundane realm. So, there's this improved ability to get straight to the point. Might even be a time of impatience with others who are not thinking as effectively as you. But in Capricorn, the detached and observational approach can shine through and work in your favor. So practical skills, Mercury in the 6th house, are enhanced. Pluto empowers whatever it touches, and in this case it's empowering Mercury, which is this skillfulness of the hands in a very practical house. So any craftsmanship that you undertake now can be very blessed and empowered, Pluto, but and beautiful because of Venus involved, but it's also going to be very practical and useful. You're in the 6th house, remember, after all. Be wary of perfectionism because Pluto empowers whatever it touches. And here in the house of perfectionism, Mercury might lead you to sort of needing to have so much of a logical thought, mental approach that there is no room for spirit or emotion, and that can lead you into that hyper worry, hyper perfectionist attitude, and that can be debilitating. Instead, channel your mental capacity into some sort of productive, useful, tasteful, creative work instead, rather than letting your mind spin in, I'm not perfect, so I can't even try. I encounter so many people who are like, I just can't do that yet because I'm not perfect enough at it. I can't do astrology yet because I'm not at the level of Dane Rudyard or something. Come on. We're learning our whole lifetime about astrology, about everything really. So don't wait to be perfect before you dive in and take action. One of my teachers, Stephen Forrest, and I don't know why I'm saying this, maybe there's somebody who needs to hear it, but one of my teachers, Stephen Forrest, says you can do really good astrology with just the very basics. So don't think that you've got to wait until you know everything that the top of the tree guys know who've been studying, for 50 years. That's not the case. You can begin now and work towards success, not just in astrology, but in anything at all in life. Just get started. Just do. Don't wait to be perfect. I don't know why I had to say that. Maybe there was somebody who needed to hear that. But this is a very introspective placement as well, a very observational placement, especially in Capricorn. And you might find yourself, Leo, analyzing every situation, trying to weigh things up, and looking for solutions where maybe solutions don't need to be applied. If there's any planning, if there's any preparation to be done, I would suggest scheduling it in before this energy hits on the 30th of December, and that way you can alleviate any worry that might come with sort of trying to organize and schedule and what have you. Can be a bit crazy making, but it's a really good time though, as I said, to do that craftsmanship stuff, and a great time to put some practical organizational skills into action towards helping and serving in the world the disadvantaged, the sick and the poor. So do something practical and useful and perhaps beautiful as well for people who are struggling. And you might even find that Pluto exposes those things a little bit more to you now. It's revealed to you where people are struggling. I know a lot of people in Australia have had to go to food banks to get enough food because of job loss, because of what the governments have done. So, a lot of people aren't aware of that because the news doesn't report on it for some crazy reason. But under this energy, if you're a Leo person, that might be shown to you now, because Pluto is to reveal what's been hidden. And I've just given you one example of some things that are happening in Australia. There's things happening all over the world, obviously, where things have been hidden and there's disadvantage and disparity. And so under this energy, Pluto can bring that up and reveal it to you. And what you need to do with Mercury here is to be practical and contribute with your hands to changing that circumstance. People lining up for food banks, maybe you've got as I do, a ton of tomatoes currently in my backyard. Maybe I could be giving my tomatoes away because I'm not going to be able to eat them all. So practical, using my skills. Venus is actually quite a good example. Venus is gardening. Mercury is to use your hands and, use your hands to garden. And here we are, helping the needy, which is a 6th house energy. So that's a really good way to work with this energy, Leo, if you're looking for some way to put it to good use in your life. Okay, moving along. Thank you, Leo. We're at Virgo now. Virgo rising, sun or moon people. Well, your energy, Virgo, for this conjunction that we're exploring this week is falling in the 5th house. Pluto conjunct Venus and Mercury particularly on the 30th of December. So you might be thinking a little larger than life under this influence. In your head, you're imagining that you can go where no man or woman has gone before. It's very empowered thinking here. Creative thinking in the 5th house, very creative energy. And Pluto amplifies or empowers whatever it touches, in this case, Mercury, how we're thinking, our thought processes. So you are creatively imagining this, what you can do. So as such, you could find yourself undertaking some very mercurial things that you mightn't usually do, particularly if they're of a creative sort. It might be, like I was just mentioning in when Mercury's in the 6th house, craftsmanship that is practical and useful. But here in the 5th house, it's more craftsmanship that is just creative for the sake of being creative, not for any particular practical purpose. So it could be that you're woodworking, using your hands, or metalworking, or knitting, or sewing. It could be that you're doing embroidery, or maybe even cooking, because cooking requires the use of your hands. Anything craftsman-like requires the use of our hands, and so you could be getting very creative with those craftsmanship things. You might also be doing other mercurial things that you wouldn't usually do. Maybe going up to a stranger and having a chat, or attempting a crossword or a Sudoku, or planning out some sort of literary novel. You're going to write the greatest novel ever written, and you plan out the plot line. You go very empowered with what Mercury in the 5th house is all about, because Pluto's involved here. You might even find under this energy that your communication is more confident, more dramatic, more expressive, more captivating now. Your words are more empowered with a conjunction with Pluto, and Venus is going to make your words sweet. So powerful, sweet words creatively coming out of your mouth now, Virgo. People might even be laughing more at your jokes. Mercury is to be witty, to be funny, and of course Pluto is empowering Mercury energy in a house of playfulness. So, you could be the life of the party through some witticism that you share. And the 5th house is a generous type of energy. And so your words can be very generous, giving compliments, giving encouragement to other people. Now, a very positive transit. So thank you for that, our beautiful Virgo people. Now, Libra rising, sun or moon people. For those of us who have Libran energies at play, the combination of Pluto, Venus and Mercury in a conjunction, but particularly Mercury and Pluto happening on the 30th of December, is falling in the 4th house. This is where communication gets personal with these influences. So you might find, because Pluto's a little bit psychic, not just a little bit, like Pluto's full-on psychic, you might find yourself picking up very easily on the feelings and the needs of other people now. You just tap in. They don't even have to say a word. You just absorb that energy. You sense it. So if you're feeling, that person, they could really use a shoulder to cry on or something, then act on that. Don't just sort of sit back. We've got our intuition for a reason, and in the 4th house it's going to be switched on this week, particularly on the 30th. It's a transit that can bring out, sometimes with this combination, some defensive tendencies as well. So be kind to yourself if you feel inclined that way. Know when to walk away, know when to lick your wounds instead. You might find out that information comes to you, some news comes to you now, but it'll come in maybe a gentle, non-confrontative way, because Venus is involved here. So there's likely to be some sort of family news. This is a house of family, but it's going to come, and it's not going to be anything dire or drastic or drama-filled. It's likely to be more gentle and not harsh, thanks to Venus's involvement. But it's a terrific energy to do some journaling, of your, processing your emotions. Is the house of our deep emotions, so it's time for processing those things. It also could be a good time to pick up a book, or a romantic poetry book or something, or relationship stories or communications that are shared personally. And I'm not just talking lovey-dovey stuff, even though I did mention romance a moment ago, but this is a house of familial relationships, intimate connections and bonds, usually bonds of blood. So you might be that you pick up a family saga, like a dynasty or a Dallas kind of a story, and you're reading that. Mercury is to read and to absorb information, even these sort of stories that have to do with like family dynasties and dramas and, you know, those sorts of relationships and communication. Personal communications. You might also get a bit sentimental. You might get a bit nostalgic under this influence because Pluto is empowering the energy of Mercury in the fourth house. Fourth house is heritage, roots, lineage. Mercury is to think about things from the past when it's in the fourth house. And of course, Pluto is intensifying that. You might also be thinking a lot more about security, about land, about property, about hospitality in some way. So, you know, these things could be very prominent for you, unfolding for you right now on the surface. So expect that you might get very passionate or even very philosophical about some of these topics as well. You know, doing this deep soul-searching inquiry into your emotional psyche, you know. And of course that can express in, you know, having philosophical discussions or passionate discussions with family members. Because this is the house of family. And if you're catching up with family over the new year, expect that there can be a lot of passion in the discussions, but the words will be sweet. Venus is sweet words, Pluto is passion, Mercury is discussion in the house of family. So that would be how we might see these energies tangoing together. Now we're up to an exploration for Scorpio of the energy of your ruling planet in modern astrology, Pluto, making a conjunction with Mercury. Let's turn that around a bit. And Venus in the third house, and this is occurring for you guys. This is occurring in the third house in Capricorn. So this is a very playful and cheeky kind of energy in the third house when Mercury is there, but Pluto is intensifying everything. So yeah, you might feel playful and cheeky, but I would just say, guys, watch out for maybe taking it a little bit too far and going beyond what's, you know, what most people really can like when it comes to cheekiness and so forth. You might even get a bit flirty with your words now. Mercury is being amplified by Pluto's energy. Flirty with your words, mentally witty and intellectual. I mean, you can really turn this to your advantage. If you're a comedian and you want to write a new script for your new show or whatever, this is the energy. It's going to be really turned on, and you'll be working at a high level of creative brilliance with this, you know, clever wittiness that comes in the third house, Mercury. So it's a great time to direct your thinking and to direct your words into some sort of creative brilliance. Write an article, outline a plot for a new story, strategize a brand new business idea perhaps. You know, use it to your advantage. But your mind can be quite restless for the next couple of weeks, actually. You might get the opportunity to absorb a lot of new and very interesting information, particularly on the 30th. You might even get some sort of news that will come to you out of the blue. That can be the case. It could be very transformative news that was hidden from you and that you didn't see coming. But it's not going to be all bad because Venus is there. And even Venus is, though she's retrograde, she will sweeten things up a bit. You know, it's not going to be disastrous news. It's going to be more, oh, that's shocking or that's life-changing, but in a good way ultimately, with Venus giving some receptivity and sweetness there. You might find that you might create some new friendships now that really change your world, change your thinking, and transform you. That's the positive side. The shadow side of this energy could exhibit that you might make some friendships or acquaintances, really, that maybe turn out to be a bit obsessive or a bit jealous or a bit manipulative in your life. Pluto's shadow side. So just be wary of that and have your wits about you. But your curiosity is quite insatiable when this is being empowered in the third house, and you'll want to know about everything. You want to know the details. You'll want to know why. You'll want to understand, and you want to get information from this source and that person and this person. You'll gather all your information because you're curious. Your curiosity is amplified. Also, watch out for an excess of nervous energy because your mind might race a little under this influence. It might be harder to sit still and meditate if that's something that you regularly like to do, because we're just energized in this very busy house of the horoscope. Pluto is empowering Mercury, which is a busy little planet in a busy little house, and your mind is racing. So if you're finding that there's a lot of nervous energy or mental activity that you want to just ease off, I'm a bit overwhelmed here, magnesium is a really good choice. Or take a walk, do something that requires movement but is peaceful at the same time. Going for a walk is great. Going for a swim over a distance, going for a bike ride, something that involves getting from A to B, that can help settle your racing mind if you need some help under this energy. And finally, our precious and very patient, waiting till last, Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, this energy of the conjunction of Mercury, Pluto, and Venus is falling for you in the second house. Well, this is a house ruled generally or has connections to Venus, the planet of diplomacy, kindness, and sweetness. So under this energy, and with Venus here as well as a part of this conjunction, you might be inclined to use your voice. Voice is a second house thing, to do something sweet, to speak sweet words, to use your voice to sing, to uplift other people's sense of self-worth through kind words, through loving words. And so Pluto wants to enhance or empower this natural inclination of Venus and Mercury together in the second house. So it could be really lovely in that sense. I'd also recommend using kind words and kind thoughts, Mercury, for yourself as well. You can transform your thinking now into the positive with this influence. You can really change the way you think in a good way, in a blessed way, because this is a house of self-worth and self-valuing. And Pluto wants to transform how you value yourself through your thinking, Mercury. So this is an exciting time for changing your perspective on that. So maybe write yourself a love letter. That's a Mercury thing to do. Tell yourself how much you value who you are. We don't do that sort of thing enough. We're not taught to do that sort of thing enough, to love ourselves in that way and treasure ourselves. I just want to encourage you. It's a great time to do it, especially at New Year. So your thoughts might turn to things that are very Venusian now, arts, beauty, fashion, maybe the environment, maybe something about food or nature. You might be thinking a lot about self-sufficient living here in the house of independent self-sufficiency. Let your thoughts go to those realms and see what comes of them. You could be very surprised by what comes up and how you are transformed by thinking on those Venusian things. It's also a great time for planning and strategizing these things as well. I want to go and have a self-sufficient vegetable patch in my backyard, which is a very second house thing to do. And so you plan it out now, and you strategize, and you lay out the rows, and you think, you go through in your head how it's going to be and what plants are going to be there and what veggies you're going to grow. So really good time for planning and strategizing the kind of suggestions that I've just brought up. And you'll also find that finances and money-making ideas flourish for you now. You might get a psychic download, which is very Pluto energy, of inspiration that says, I could invest in this, or I should go and buy that, or something like that. So pay attention to the psychic downloads that you get with a conjunction of Pluto, Venus, Mercury in the second house. That could be very positive for you. Also, on that note, pay attention to where your mind wanders under this energy as well. What do you find yourself thinking about and gravitating towards in your thoughts? So, one and all, thank you for joining me for a sojourn around the horoscope for the final week of the old year, talking about where your thoughts might be directed. Let's finish the year with a prayer of gratitude. Energy of love, we thank you for how we have been stretched and how we have learned and how we have grown throughout 2021, and that we're all here at the end of it to tell the tale to those that come after us in the future. We ask for the gift of love to flow over humanity into 2022, starting right now, that people will start to see through the eyes of love, through the eyes of compassion, and live their life according to principles of kindness and love and benevolence. And so it is. Well, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to joining you in 2022 with more Astro Weather Reports. Happy New Year, and I'll catch you then.